All right, welcome to episode 3, DAO Talk. It is June 2nd, 2022. Let's get
GM.
it.
Yeah,
I'm
with
Tommy.
GM, it's June. I can't believe it, and I'm frishing.
First topic, Frisian. What's happening?
Oh
Everyone knows.
man,
It's
dude,
juicy.
our boy Nate got arrested. Savage. Can't believe it. I remember like this incident was one of the first, full blown CT dramas that I was present for and participated in. And I remember at the time, everyone was like, NFTs aren't securities. This isn't insider trading. Turns out the FBI disagrees. Um, yeah, so this is really wild. I think he's gotten charged with two charges that could be up to 40 years in prison. So pretty serious stuff. It seems like the U.S. government is sending a message that just because you're dealing with your magic crypto coin commodity things doesn't mean that they won't charge you for financial crimes. So, this is wild to see. Like, what I would say is, one take that I really enjoyed when I saw this going down was someone said like, don't do anything that you wouldn't want to see published on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, like regardless of whether you think it's legal or not. Don't do anything you wouldn't want to tell like your parents about or whatever. You wouldn't be proud of. I think that's right. And the thing is, like this kind of activity, where Nate basically, was involved in what gets listed on the front page or knew about it and then profited from that happening. That's really like very possible to do in many DAOs today. Like there are a lot of DAOs that are involved in the flow of funds. They're involved in promotion of various financial products and activities. And there are absolutely DAO contributors who have privileged inside information. And what I would say there is like, today I think a lot of people are profiting from that in different ways. And I personally believe like as an industry, we really need to step up our standards of ethics. And if we don't do that ourselves, the US government apparently is going to try to do it for us.
Yeah. I mean, they're making an example out of someone. And I've seen a lot of takes about, like, really, like, it's him, the guy who, you know, really did it, you could say, like, comparatively to other scam artists and grifters on crypto Twitter and in the space. Like, was this the guy who was causing the most damage? And I don't think that's the point. I think the point is they had to make an example of somebody, and this was probably the easiest one to do, right? Because OpenSea probably was super cooperative with it, because they have a ton of institutional investments and they want to be kind of like the centralized NFT platform, and they kind of are. They're the main player, so it'll be interesting to see like what comes out of this, because I see a lot of narratives or like warnings towards specific users from like Zach XBT and like all these NFT ethics pages on Twitter, like, oh, you should be worried, you should be worried, you should be worried. But like, I don't like. What do you think? Do you think there's going to be a wave of like indictments similar to this, or was it just because this one had the most, you know, legal precedent around like traditional businesses? I feel like with other, like, we talk about like people within the DAOs, like you just mentioned everything that could, what could possibly happen, but it's like, is that actually something that people should be worried about? And I'm not saying that in the sense of like, oh, you shouldn't be worried about it, just keep committing crimes. I'm saying like, as I think we both, I think, and most people listening to this come from a place of like, we are not happy, but we want regulation and we want bad actors like this to be called out. So is it something that we should be encouraged by, in the sense that it's this changes, this is a shift in the way um, Web3 is going to exist going forward? Or is this still 3, 4, 5 years out in terms of like actual meaningful regulation of bad actors within the space?
Well, I think regulation is here and coming. Like I think regulation exists. I think a lot of people are trying to enforce, right? I think this is an enforcement action. I think, the SEC is trying to enforce on DeFi and other crypto, participants exchanges. So I think it's here. I think like the way that enforcement works and laws work is like every bad actor doesn't get caught, right? The government does not have the capacity to to track down every violation of any law. What they do is they enforce sometimes where it makes sense for them to do that, and they basically make an example. So there's like game theoretically, it doesn't make sense to commit crimes, not because you know for sure you're going to get caught, but because it's like minus EV, because like getting caught is really bad, and like whatever odds percentage chance that is of happening makes it not worth it for you. So I think that's what this is, right? Is the government making an example out of Nate? Honestly, I think, yeah, is that good or not? First of all, I don't think it matters whether it's good or not. Like, it's happening. Second of all, like like this is what happens like when we can't police ourselves. Honestly, like this is where like things like Zach XBT are really powerful, right? Because he's helping like raise the standards within the crypto community. But like the reality is that bad actors are fully tolerated in many communities and are actually profiting massively from this. Honestly, like Nate, it's like this is where people are kind of like, well, this is messed up. Like he didn't even profit that much. He was adding a lot of value to the space in his role at OpenSea. Like, be that as it may, he still may have he was still like did things that could be considered illegal. We'll see, and certainly we're not good for the space. But the reality is there's lots of people out there like on YouTube and in different communities that are just like massively profiting from bad behavior. And like as an industry, we need to figure out a way to disincentivize that or to communicate that that's not tolerated, or we're just going to see more of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely something that needs to be discussed, especially as decentralized work and DAOs and the workforce kind of gets, it goes back to like talking about the boring stuff that has to be talked about and ironed out within DAOs and within the space, right? This is something that I think a lot of people come in, especially like the newer age people, like myself included, and a lot of this behavior is just accepted as the normal. It completely depends on what your first interaction with the space is, right? Like for you, it was, this is bad, right? And I think you come from a traditional background similar to me, like where, yeah, this is a crime. Don't do this, right? But I think a lot of people who are a lot younger, who don't have a traditional background, right, come in and they think this is the norm, and that's a problem, moving forward that we might not see the effects of for a couple of years. So will be interesting to see how it plays out. But let's move on. Optimism. They had their airdrop this week. Oh my God, I did it again. All right, hold on. Optimism had their airdrop this week. A lot of shit to talk about, whether that is good or bad. It's for you to decide. We will simply just give our take. I know Frisian has a lot of heat, fire emoji, spice to talk about.
Yeah.
So let's dive into it. Let's give us a little bit of an overview first, and then we can dive into the more philosophical side of what is exactly happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, super exciting. Like the progress of Ethereum L2s continues. Optimism announced their DAO and their token, their governance and their token like several weeks ago. And then this week they launched the token and did the airdrop. So super exciting moment for the space. There were some hiccups through the process. I think the community and Optimism learned a lot. The primary, I guess, like drama or challenge really revolved around like the timing of kind of the distribution, the smart contract for distributing the token related to like when the public announcement of the airdrop occurred and like the claims UI on Optimism's website was available for use. Basically, they deployed the token distribution smart contract before they like made the claims UI available and announced it and publicized it. And then when they did publicize it, their RPC endpoint got overloaded. There's like a number of nuanced things that happen there that if you want to dig around on Twitter, you can find like Optimism and engineers doing postmortems on. But basically, like their RPC endpoint got overloaded, and then they had to like take the claims UI back down. But the token distribution contract was still live, right? And that's kind of scary. It's scary for a couple of reasons. First of all, it opens the door for people to create alternative UIs that could actually be like phishing scams. And token airdrops are like notorious for this, where like it's everyone's like, I want to get my free tokens, like my free responsibility that I'm probably going to dump. So I need to like just go claim them right now. And so it creates a prime environment for someone to be like, look, the Optimism claims UI is back up. But really it's like their website that they created that like, signs like, messages or creates transactions in your wallet that create security problems. And so like, there's that. And then also like there are many people in the space that are technical enough or have enough information to actually be able to claim their tokens without a UI being created for them, like claim them directly from the contract. And that like, I think also like, I think as a community, like when there's a big public airdrop like this that is very meaningful to a lot of people, like it's really important that we try to create as like even of a playing field as possible. Especially like I think we should be trying to grow crypto, and we really should be trying to optimize our experiences, in my opinion, for newer entrants to the space, because we need them to have a good experience in order for crypto as a whole and like L2s as a whole to grow. And so I think it creates like in many ways like an unfair advantage for more experienced crypto participants when something like this happens. And so, that created a lot of drama. I would say like, part of the challenge with this experience is it kind of got overlaid against the backdrop of other kind of controversial aspects of Optimism's airdrop. They've been really aggressive about cutting out Sybil attackers, which we talked about last week. And it's kind of in the spirit of like, they're really not interested in people who are just trying to profit off of OP or Optimism, and then they've taken like other potential steps in that direction. Like someone made an early governance post saying like anyone who sells the token shouldn't be eligible to receive future airdrops. That's part of their design, is they're doing this like iterative airdrop approach where they keep airdropping more in the future. And like, that kind of stuff like is very, it can be seen as very exclusive, right? Like, you can't sell, right? Well, like, what if you have to sell? Or like going back to the thing of experienced participants, like it's pretty easy to evade that measure by just like, moving your tokens around and selling them from another wallet. Like, it just, like, I think it is seen as like, and can be seen as like exclusive. And so when you sort of combine that with like the issues that went down with the claims UI and the distribution contract, like there's just like a lot of fun on Twitter. The last thing I would add though is like, I think like, and this is just my opinion, like the token itself, the OP token, it's really just a governance token. Like it's really designed for people to be able to vote on, like at least in its current form, vote on where the fees go. In Optimism's case, they're really focused on public goods funding. So it's more like which public goods are going to be funded with this token. And I think that creates like some underlying value in the token, but I think we've seen like not a lot, right? And so I think also just like part of the reason people want to dump this token and like why there's so much FUD is it's just like it's another governance token, and like we're a couple years into that playbook, and I don't think it's going very well. I think as a community, we need to figure out a way to like innovate on how we accrue value to tokens, or we're going to see kind of more of this like down only action and like less excitement around airdrops as well. So yeah, lots to talk about. But yeah, definitely feel free to go and claim your OP tokens.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of like there is no value accrual method for this token, right? It's governance only. And I know you don't have a perfect solution, but the system seems broken in the sense that like everything they're complaining about in regard to like people selling and dumping and things like that is like what did you expect? And if you're waiting until you launch the token to deal with these issues, like I don't know.
Yeah, it's great that you pull up this chart. Like the very left hand side of the chart when it was up at $4.50, that was before they launched the claim UI, right? Yeah. So if you're an average claimor, like, are you happy that like you are only able to claim after the token is down 80%? No, you're not, right? So like that's what I'm talking about as far as like the challenges for kind of like accessibility.
But the team's gonna say
and sort of being inclusive.
Yeah, but the team's gonna say, especially because you mentioned the post, it's like, well, the point of this is not to sell, right? So like, why should you care if you're like the average claimor and you want to be part of?
I think the problem with saying, oh, the point of this isn't to sell, is that the token trades on the open market, and not only that, the viability of like a governance token like OP really relies on its price. With the way token voting works, it's based on like, you know, how many tokens you have, right? So the lower the price goes, the lower the market cap of the project goes, the less security that exists around those votes, because it becomes easier and easier and easier for someone to just buy up a majority of the token supply. And so like, you can't say that, right? You can't just be like, oh, this isn't for selling, like it doesn't matter about the price. Like it does matter about the price for fundamental reasons that relate to like the security of the government and like validity of the governance process for Optimism.
So why do you think like why is this the accepted solution, or not even solution, just like method of issuing governance for like a project that's trying to decentralize?
Well, I think first of all, there are a lot of regulatory issues around, like nobody wants their token to be a security, because then you can only participate in it if you're an accredited investor, and other rules apply. And so like you're sort of like, it has to be focused on the utility of the token versus like trying to accrue value to it. And so some of the more like obvious plays for accruing value to tokens, like sharing cash flows, like directly sharing fees, for example, from Optimism's like sequencers with token holders, are potentially questionable from a regulatory perspective. So that's one reason. But another one I would say is just like, it's what people have done, you know, like it's a pattern that exists, and like, so it's sort of easier, which I actually think is problematic in crypto, because like anything that can be gamed will, right? And so it's like, I think doing a governance only token when like the whole sushi swap, Uniswap thing was going down, and like the Uni airdrop happened, like I think it made a lot of sense. I think now though, it's like there's just so many like crypto is savage, right? And people have like, there's so many traders and claimors and farmers who are just trying to like suck as much value as humanly possible out of every single one of these airdrops, that it's like you can't just keep doing the same thing. So I think to give Optimism credit, they have innovated in other areas of governance. Like they have this idea of like continual airdrops, and like they revisit their governance on a regular basis, and they have some like NFT that I think is kind of like a soulbound NFT that goes with your governance token. But I think, yeah, I guess if it was me and I was a DAO, I was trying to create a DAO, like just straight creating like an ERC20 governance token whose only value has to do with like voting on the DAO, like I wouldn't do that. I think this kind of action is inevitable around those, and I would try to find other ways. Like I think fundamentally, like these tokens are commodities, they're not securities, and like you have to find a way for there to be utility. Like there has to be a reason that you need to buy the token to do something. And like if you look, thanks for pulling this up, like we had Noah Edelman wrote an article for Tally this week that showed that in Compound, which is a similar like ERC20 governance token, the comp token, in the most recent like votes, the average voter participation was 3%. Like you're not going to accrue value to a governance token where on average 3% of token holders vote. Like that's just, So it's like, for me, it's almost like find another way for people to actually need the token to do something, or just like don't launch a governance token, honestly, at this stage, would be my take.
Yeah, I think something I want to highlight is, and we talked about it a little bit before, is like we don't say this to like shit on optimism or like FUD it, right? I think these are all problems that we all need to collectively bring to the surface and work on, and come from a place of, hey, we're not bringing this up and bringing up the issues with it because we want it to fail. We want it to succeed, right? And there's a lot of issues that if we don't talk about now, we don't get it figured out now, or we're not on the path to figuring it out now, right? Like long term, like we talked about last week, the DAO experiment, right? Like we don't want to look back and, we ignored problems because we wanted price go up, where like, fundamentally we were just like shooting ourselves in the feet, I think like something that's been kind of a theme from like the Tally Content Guild this week has been around that issue, right? We have the one, our DAOs fake democracies, right? Like talking about like what it looks like from the minutia, right? Like what is actually happening, what are the issues? Like turnout is the biggest issue, right? Like how do we address these issues? If you want to talk a little bit more about this article.
Yeah, I think it just examined. This is a great read. Noah, he's like, he's another one of those like 19-year-old crypto people that makes you feel old. Like super amazing writer, really engaging read. He just examined like, okay, what's actually happening from a democratic perspective, like in these governance processes using Compound, which is like, the OG, ERC20 governance token voting based DAO. And yeah, average voter turnout was 3.34%. So a lot of work to do here. He talks about, potential solutions, and I'm confident we'll get there as a community. We just need more experimentation. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We've actually had a lot of great content go out this week. On Tally's side. One of our amazing engineers, Natasha De La Rosa, wrote a guide to, if you have an existing token and you want to use it in DAO governance, how to do that. And it's like super detailed. If you pop it open, it has like a full breakdown of like every step, including all the code you need to do it. It's really polished and thorough. So if you are looking to take an existing token and enable DAO governance on it, please do read this article. I think you'll find it extremely helpful.
Yeah, we're not just pretty faces over here at DAO Talk Studios, right? We put out a lot of our goal is to become like not centralized, that's a bad word in crypto. It is the central hub for everything you might possibly need for anything DAOs, right? If you want to learn about DAOs, if you have zero knowledge, we have something for you. If you have an existing token like this and you want to add governance to it, we have that as well. Like we have some super talented engineers and super talented writers that are constantly producing like top tier content for anything you could possibly need related to DAOs, on-chain governance, off-chain governance. Like there's something for everyone. And DAO Talk, this podcast is just a way for us to show you what we have, what's available, right? We all, rising tides rise all boats. Like we want the entire space to succeed, and we're gonna do our part to build that. So, yeah. What's next?
You should go to Tally's Twitter. We just published another article that Dennison, our CEO, wrote. It's about soulbound tokens, which are so hot right now. And it's getting a ton of traction. I posted it right before we started recording. It's already getting a lot of likes. It's just a recap of Zoolander. No, it's just like, it's funny, like with all this drama around Soulbound and the name and whether stuff should be permanent on chain, like it's actually pretty basic. It's just a non-transferable NFT. So Dennison whipped up a quick guide to like, if you want to make a non-transferable NFT for governance, which is, an important potential use case that could unlock, solutions to some of the problems we were talking about earlier. We can, you can do that easily. And he even adds some nuance around like, you can't make it technically fully never transferable. You won't even be able to claim it. So just talked about, walk through a quick implementation there. Worth taking a look if you want to be able to create a soulbound governance token.
Yeah, definitely something to take a look at. If you want to, if you're not sure what SBT soulbound tokens are, I would say go listen to last week's episode. We kind of go into the whole debate around People don't like the name, but as you can tell, it is not going anywhere. And the more people talk about it, the more it sticks. So definitely check that one out. It is, even if you're not super technical, it is a really good read. Let's go into some quickfire subjects. It's not subjects. Some quickfire news that happened this week. Merit Circle DAO. Something interesting happened. They are trying to remove one of their seed investors for not contributing up to their standards, pretty much. I thought this was super interesting and super. I think it's a good thing, right? I don't know what you think, but if you're like, it's a shift in the way investments are viewed by the investee, right? Or the receiver of the investment. I'm fucking up, but if you, it's no
The
longer
investee.
just like
That's
investee.
I don't think I've heard anyone say that, but I guess it makes sense.
The investing receiver. I don't
The
know. That sounds
invested
horrible.
in party.
Yeah, it's no longer just, hey, give us a check and that's it. See ya when you want to exit, right? It's, how can you help us grow? What are you actively offering besides just your investment? Frisian, you want to talk about like what is happening?
Yeah, for sure. So, so Merit Circle is a DAO. I think YGG is a DAO, but the main point here is that like Merit Circle received investment in their DAO from YGG, which is like the biggest, you know, play to earn gaming guild. Um, and you know, according to like a contributor to Merit Circle, they haven't done that much to add value. I don't know whether that's true or not. Like I'm not a member of the community, but that's what the community manager claims. So they created a proposal to just be like, we're gonna revoke the fact that they ever invested into us. So like take away their allocation of our tokens and like refund them for the price they paid, which is pretty wild. Like I don't really know if you can do that in like traditional, you know, legal US legal system based equity, or it might be like really hard. I know that people don't do it really without a really good reason, which probably means like either you can't or it's like usually not worth it. So yeah, but like I mean, if the sort of like rules of the DAO allow for this kind of thing, then it certainly can happen. Whether it's a good idea or not, we'll see, right? I mean, like would you want to invest in Merit Circle in the future if you watch like one of their preeminent investors just get their investment like revoked like quite a bit of time after they originally made the investment? I don't know, but it's certainly super interesting to see this play out. And it's like when we talk about DAOs as being, you know, more subject to sort of like the will of the community and the team, like I think this is an example of that playing out. So yeah, it's also just bear market things, right? The knives come out. It's like we got to protect our token.
Yeah.
Super interesting to see this playing out.
Yeah, definitely something. It's just another part of existing in this world, this Web3 world that we live in, right? Like there's something new every week. Like we're talking about this week's pretty slow, but like there's always something interesting happening, especially in a bear market. Like things get a little bit hairy. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. We'll definitely cover it future episodes if anything crazy happens, but definitely interesting. All right, next up, JokeDAO. We talked about them last week. Frisian really likes what they're doing and the primitives they're building. It's a pretty interesting, like almost like I call it like a Trojan horse in, you know, masking like what they're not masking. They're not trying to actively hide it, but like using memes and using jokes as a way to communicate and a way to build something new and innovative in the space. So you want to talk a little bit about, you know, what is energizing you about this and what they're trying to do?
Yeah, I really need to figure out how to get some joke their token and like vote on these jokes and like make some jokes because I've just been watching from the sidelines, just, you know, like just admiring. But yeah, like there's a bunch of things I like here. First of all, I think bringing DAO tooling to the market by operating a DAO is a really smart move. Like I think there's this meme that there's like more DAO tooling than DAOs, but I think there's just like a lot of people LARPing, right? Where like I'm making DAO tooling because like I want to participate in crypto and like DAOs are kind of like businesses and I like B2B software. It's like, that's not really how it works. You know, like you need to actually understand the unique challenges faced by DAOs. And so I think like this team is, you know, implementing new tooling via a new DAO that they created. That's also hilarious, which I think is like amazing, right? And is sort of like a really good go-to-market vehicle because it's also funny, which is why we're talking about it right now. So anyway, I'm just like, yeah, kind of fanboying about what they're doing here. And yeah, so I think some of these jokes like need to get they're like funny for like how not good they are. I mean, come on, like, can we try a little harder? I need to get in here and make some jokes, but yeah, like the thing that's cool about this, right, is it's on Polygon and everything is on chain, so it's like it's almost like governance maximalization, where it's like the community is voting on sort of like everything, right? Like, what are the jokes? Which jokes do we like? And it's sort of like you could imagine this is a way to really do more like bottoms up kind of groundswell based. Like, there's a meme that's like, oh, a DAO has never like made a cool product, right? It's like, well, maybe they just need different mechanisms for the community to work together, right? And it's like, could a team use, tooling like this where it's like there's multiple options and then you can sort of expressively like vote and or point the community in one direction or another, fully on chain to like move together in a particular direction, from like a creative perspective or to build a strategy. I think there's a lot of potential here, that's kind of enabled by this being on Polygon, where you can just like vote your heart out, and it doesn't really have like a strong implication from like a fees perspective. So I think we'll see more stuff like this going forward, with L2s, and other side chains that kind of enable more stuff to happen on chain from a governance perspective.
Yeah, I know they just got a pretty sweet anonymous grant that is allowing them to create a better front end. So here it is. It's definitely something that I think a lot of people agree with you on, and money is flowing into that. So like you said, like the DAOs have never created like a good product. I don't think it's because it's not possible. I think it's because the mechanisms are broken, or new mechanisms need to exist, right? And I think this is one way that's going to happen, right? It's like we always talk about, like, builders build and the bear market is for building. It's going to be really interesting to see what comes out of this bear market, no matter how long it is, right? Or we see it day to day. A lot of really cool shit is going to get made, and a lot of really interesting problems are going to get solved. So you can trust us to cover it each week. We literally live, breathe, eat, sleep DAOs. So
yeah. Let's quickly hit on Euler Finance,
real quick,
before we drop, and then we'll make sure we get to
meme of the
the
week.
meme of the week, which is really important this week, really every week.
Please stay on the line.
Yeah, so Euler Finance, it's cool. They're forming a DAO, decentralizing, and it's a super innovative DeFi protocol. It's like permissionless borrowing and lending. So similar to what you would see with like Rari Capital, where any kind of like asset can be listed, and they have a process for like isolating risk, between the different assets. So really cool, really innovative product and team, forming a DAO, and we're particularly excited because they're using Tally to be the front end for their governance. I think we're going to see more of this, like especially teams that are using Open Zeppelin governor frameworks for their DAO. They don't want to build their own front end, or it's okay. Like, I think it's good to have multiple front ends, but like they don't want to rely on having to like continuously maintain and improve their front end for their community to participate in governance, and that's what Tally is for. So we're super stoked to work with this team, and watch the DAO go live. This tweet thread, like, you can actually, there's like some Twitter polls to help kind of shape what they're going to do with governance. So you can feel free to jump in there and kind of shape. They've like announced that they're going to do it, but they haven't finished implementing the governance yet.
What is the DAO Talk official vote? Let's do it real quick.
Let's see. What is it? What
proposal created 0 day, 1 day, 2 days.
Like, what does that mean? Like,
yeah, I don't know what they're asking.
Hold on.
Like, how long
voting
should
How long should there be a delay between proposal creation and when it?
I thought it's 0.
All right, let's
What were you
voting.
gonna say?
I don't know, but I feel like the next question I can answer more.
I'm going 0. Oh, wrong. Okay.
So voting, I'm all about maximum time
So 4.
frame here. I actually think it should be longer than 4 days, but yeah, let's do that.
Okay, close.
Okay, execution delay. I think
I
having
say
an
delay.
execution delay is important.
2,
I think I'm kind of maximum time on all these, to be honest with you.
3. Oh.
And yes, on that one too. Like I think,
100%
yeah,
yes.
on-chain proposals are risky, right? It's good to have like these backstops in place.
Cool. All right. Well, go vote on that. We'll this will probably be a clip if you're watching this on Twitter. So.
All right.
All right.
It's time for
Meme
it's time for meme of the week. Like let's get to the most important part. Come on, man.
The week. It is something we talked about last week.
Technically, it happened last week, but it happened after we recorded, and it's like definitely the most important thing that's happened in the DAO space since.
Yeah, if you think
since
we
our
are,
last episode,
if you think we are creative on the show and we have original memes, you'd be completely wrong. So here we go. If you have no idea what this is, just listen.
Oh yeah, we're back.
And you can
now.
hear it now. All right. Question on that. Are those
I think
actual
we need
people
to
talking?
keep
or is
playing it,
pre-recorded?
dude. We need to talk over this ambiance, bro.
This is actually what I listen to when I meditate every night.
I think instead of playing this, you and I should have just tried to like LARP as goblins, like live.
Are these actual people talking, or are they like pre-recorded like movie sounds?
No,
You know?
dude. This is
Or are they real? They're real
hours
goblins.
of
Yeah.
live goblin LARPing.
The bear market does crazy shit to some people, man.
It sure does.
Well,
Yeah. So anyway, I'm really happy for everyone that this exists.
it is like the only successful NFT project in this bear market, which is just,
Yeah, I think
That's
it went up
just
to
fucking
6
great.
ETH this week.
which is still like nothing, right? ETH is fucking horrible.
Yeah, the utility of crypto at this point is that it's hilarious. So we've got that. We can hold on to that.
Well, it's been an honor and a privilege, and I will see you next week for DAO Talk episode 4. Coming up soon, if you're still listening, DAO NYC, June 22nd. We will be there live. We will record a live DAO Talk. We will also be there talking to pretty much everyone we always talk about in this podcast. So if you're going to DAO NYC or NFT NYC, make sure you grab a ticket. June 22nd in New York City. Until next week.
Peace.
Peace.